let's jump into this next session. So, in the spirit of kind of mixing up the conversations, we heard a founder story tonight. We heard from somebody in the venture capital space. Now what we want to do is talk about innovation in kind of a totally different realm, and a totally different innovation story that I think is compelling in its own right, and I think is fascinating, at least the limited knowledge I have. And so I'm anxious to kind of dive into this and learn more from you guys about the work you've done. I would say I don't like to introduce my guests. I like to let them introduce themselves. So I'm going to just ask you guys to maybe introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then maybe Levi, we'll come back to you in the introductions, or maybe if we want to start with you and come to you next, and then maybe tell us a little bit about kind of the topic and like why we're here to talk. I guess we'll start here.
My name is Cartel Styles, and I'm a full-time tattooer, mural artist, and celebrity fashion designer. And I do a lot of painting and a lot of different styles of art, and very, very different styles of art.
My name is Levi Thomas, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I'm currently launching a new company with my business partner over here, Ben. But yeah, I was the founder of Graffiti Attic in Union Station, which is the country's largest graffiti art gallery.
And so that you just kind of flew right past that. So Graffiti Attic in Union Station. When I first heard about this, I found it fascinating. I think for the same reason that you and I just talked about, was I get to paint inside Union Station. Who thought, right? I didn't know it existed. And I consider myself, decently connected to the civic community here in Kansas City. So, Levi, tell us a little bit about what is Graffiti Attic, and just describe it to the average person who might not understand kind of what you were able to establish there.
Okay, yeah. So I was brought on for a totally different company that had the top 2 floors of Union Station. And it was kind of hemorrhaging money. And so I came on, made a whole new business plan, new staff, everything, and got it all up and going, worked like crazy for a year, kind of basically started from scratch, and had it going for 3 days, and then COVID shut us down. And so literally locked the building, up the government building. And so
this wasn't an art business. This was a completely different business that was just going to be there. It was just going to reside there. Right. So no, it was a completely different business. It wasn't. It was intended to do something completely different. You're just going to be occupying the space for the business.
Yeah, and even before that, but that business was only up for 1 year, and it wasn't used kind of since, I don't know, World War II, just about. But yeah, so I came on, got that going for about a few days. COVID shut us down, and then when it was shut down, no one was working, no one was out doing anything. But I live kind of inner city in a rough area, and one of my this kid that lives in the neighborhood got arrested doing graffiti, and he had a handgun with him because he's not in a safe part of town, but for having a handgun, he got felony trespassing because he was committing a crime also doing graffiti, and there's nowhere else to do art, no one's doing anything, and it just dawned on me, I was like, I've got half a mile of sheetrock walls up in this cool space in Union Station. It's also right by where the First Fridays art scene is. And so I just went up there the next morning, created the Facebook, Instagram without even asking Union Station. And I just made this post, just me walking through this maze of just brown sheetrock walls and everything. And I was like, hey, let's just create this giant safe haven where anyone can come, do graffiti, do art. And then I'm going to open it up, not charge any of the artist, just have cool area. We had a killer sound system, and then open it up for First Fridays to the public to come see it for free, and then mentor the people and the kids how to make a business with their art. And just see what happens. And so,
where is the attic? Where is the upper floors of Union Station? I'm still even since I've heard about this, I've been trying to figure out, how do I get there? Where is it at? Tell me where is this at?
yeah, you can't get to it.
Okay. Okay.
You have to have
That's why I can't get to it.
you have to have a special badge to even get up the elevator. Only one elevator goes up to the 6th floor. Then you take a staircase to the top. But no, if you're in the middle and you look straight up and at the big ceiling, it's above the arches going all the way around. And it's way bigger than it looks.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine that it's huge. So, all right. So you make this post. What did you expect to happen?
Not a lot. And I got the complete opposite. I think I've done a lot of social media with like other companies, and I always just kind of did organic growth with that. And so I worked that post. I mean, did all the stuff that their algorithm looks for. Anyone that shares, I'd comment immediately, and then put information in there, and that just puts it higher in Facebook's algorithm. And this was from a page I made at like 11 p.m. I made the video and then just worked it for like 2 days, and it ended up getting like 100,000 views on a page that didn't have any followers. And so
And you were one of the views.
I was one of the views, and I seen this post essentially go viral, and I'm an artist, so I'm like, okay, this is intriguing. I gotta see this, because he was talking about doing graffiti inside of Union Station, and Union Station is a very reputable building,
Right.
And he did explain it very well. It's over a quarter of a mile long in the attic of Union Station. So I was like, man, it's Union Station. I have to go up there and I got to paint something on the walls, because that's what he was essentially wanting. And I'm like, yeah, I can do some painting. And I get up there, and there's been over 300 some odd artists up there who have done painting throughout this half a mile or a quarter of a mile long art wall, which is also the world's largest indoor graffiti wall as well. So I definitely wanted to be a part of that. And so that's how I found out, and I wanted to come. And then I met Levi and got introduced and did a couple of different walls, maybe like 8 or 9 of them. And then I did a couple of Patrick Mahomes Chiefs ones, and which also brought Fox 4, KMBC, TV 9, and people wanted to know what the secret hidden Graffiti Attic was. And so that's how I found out, through Levi and the community and stuff like that.
So as an artist, tell me about how you worked alongside other artists. So like, how did the space, like were you designated a space to work on? Each artist had a space of the wall, or was it a little bit more, Wild West and kind of, paint what you can, paint what you want kind of thing at first?
It was definitely a paint what you want, and not a lot of people were painting Chiefs theme or anything like that. So I specifically wanted to aim towards Kansas City themed stuff. And when I came up there, there's all sorts of different styles of art. It wasn't a very specific kind. It was the genres of life of different artists and how they feel and how they project their thoughts and their art throughout there.
And so this was, March?
It was during COVID, which essentially that's why we had a lot of time.
At the
on our
beginning of
hands, so-
COVID, right? Like right at the beginning when things shut down.
Right before, yeah.
Yeah, so it literally the business I was working on got shut down. They locked the whole building, and it being a city building, it completely locked up. And I even had to kind of talk my way back in to have free range of my space. And even then, I wasn't even allowed on the first floor, very limited. And so I was like, hey, and I just kind of told him, I was like, I'm just going to, take this time off to remodel the space and have some subcontractors in to repaint. And, and so, at first
300 artists that are going to paint graffiti.
They kind of caught on. It took about a month, but they were coming up. And even then, I know nothing about art. Didn't know the difference between paint markers and brushes and spray cans. And so at first I was just kind of seeing what would happen, and then we'll adjust from there. And that's what we did. Like every week we kind of adjust a little bit and just go until we saw what.
And as he said before, that it created a community and created a bond between artists who don't really get around each other very often, because we're off in our own space creating our own art. And then you have all these other artists providing extra paints, extra paint brushes, and it was really a nice community to bring over 300 artists together, and also get to know all these other artists and their styles and what they do and who you're around, and the styles of arts who are you're going up against, I would say.
Yeah, and so has some of that collaboration or some of those relationships extended past getting to know each other in Graffiti Attic?
Absolutely. I know that a lot of the different artists will snag jobs because of Graffiti Attic. I snagged one with the Chiefs home opener video for KMBC TV 9 News, doing some Graffiti Attic relative activities and stuff like that. And then some of the other artists will do paint parties and art shows and stuff like that to display their art and get to know and just collaborate.
So at what point did you realize that, okay, I'm not going to get in trouble, and this is actually cool, and other people, like the people who are in charge, think it's cool too? I assume that happened at some point, right?
Yeah. Well, that first video just blew up, and then per the kind of rules of Union Station in the city, it was very unclear during the beginning of COVID, and they wanted no more than 10 people up there, and I had thousands, literally, of comments, and all of them were like in the first few weeks even, and people trying to schedule, and I was scheduling people's hours because I had to let everyone in the building.
So you still had to
elevator.
manage it to a 10 person at a time kind of limit.
Yeah.
You were supposed to.
No, we did.
You did,
And
okay.
you had to, drop your driver's license off and everything because it's a city building.
Sure.
And so, I was up and down that elevator, letting people in and out. And just to be clear, we didn't paint on any historical stuff in Union Station. It was all the sheetrock and metal walls that we put up. And that's the only, actually, even of the whole city on Facebook and everything, that's the only kind of bad comments we had were people assuming things like that.
That you were
Like on the
trashing Union Station, right?
yeah, on the old concrete, which that was one of the few rules I had, was don't get anything on the concrete. Everyone was super respectful of everything. We didn't really have any issues, which was shocking.
You were very adamant about making sure nobody drew on the walls or anything like that.
And
So-
was that pretty self-policed? I mean, the community was pretty, they understood and
it never got
respected
out of
that, yeah?
hand, or nobody ever did anything they weren't supposed to do, or draw or paint anything that was inappropriate or anything. Everybody kind of kept it mellow and subtle.
Now, you said something that I didn't know. I think you might have said this when we were talking a few weeks ago, but the largest indoor graffiti attic or graffiti
in the world.
Has anybody called Guinness?
No. In fact, it was actually the Pitch
It
magazine
was brought up.
that
it was
figured
brought
that
up,
out. They
but,
came around with a little measuring thing, and
measuring
they were
it.
like, "By the way, did you know it'd be the largest free wall in the country, and then the largest indoor graffiti art gallery?"
Yes.
And I was like, "I did not know," but I got like 10 people coming, so thanks for letting me know. And let's get back to having the kids. No, it was cool. And yeah, and everyone was. Everyone during COVID especially were so thankful, and I can't even count how many people after they did it like came up to me and like really tough kids and guys come up to me, look around, then just hug me and cry. Like, I've been doing graffiti for like 4 years. I've never had a space where I could just do it and not look over my back or not worry about something. And because of that, people just came up and like, "Hey man, I just want to come paint. Is that cool if I just paint over my own wall or paint over this spot?" And we're like, absolutely.
It was also providing a space for people to feel welcome, and because when you paint, it also deals with mental health, and that also kind of gives you the free range to just create and be expressing your thoughts and stuff. So that way you're not always at home, kind of tied up with your mental health. That's why I do art. It helps with stuff like that as well. So it's very reassuring for people to open up things like what he opened up to benefit more than just painting on walls.
Yeah, I know in a lot of the work that I had done, we started this initiative at the beginning of the pandemic, and a lot of our stakeholders that we try to bring together for an innovation community, one of the reasons we're in this area is its proximity to the creative class. Like, you have to have that creative influence in the tech sector or in any kind of innovation, even the infrastructure innovation that Maggie was talking about. The influences from whether it's food, art, music, are really important to have a vibrant and healthy innovation community. So as we were bringing stakeholders together at the beginning of the pandemic, I don't think people realized one of the communities that was hit hardest was the art community. for a variety of reasons. One, it's expressive, and it's so much of that art is physical. Like that's why we have galleries. Like people have to go experience it, and that all kind of went away, and the spaces got closed down, and all those types of things. So it's pretty amazing that you had the opportunity to do this. Now, does it still exist? So is this? You talked about it being in close proximity to First Fridays, right, and to the Crossroads, but like I can't get there. So like how does one experience Graffiti Attic, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so once they kind of opened the building back up to the public, I did the First Friday. So it was just walk up from like 2 to 9 p.m. Anyone that would come was welcome, and it was shocking. I mean, I think the first time we had over 500 people come through. And then again, trying to figure out COVID, we did talk to them about that kind of stuff, about like we had everyone kind of go one direction because it's like a maze.
Yeah.
So like you rarely ever no one really passed each other unless someone really just stopped and looked at something, and wasn't a big deal. But and the rules changed as people change their minds about what's allowed and not. And but I actually exited the company about a year ago.
Okay.
And then just like literally in the last few days found out the last First Friday is in 2 days on Friday.
Oh, okay. So the last
at Graffiti Attic. So I don't know. We'll see what happens about that. I don't know. I might try to get back involved and keep it back
I
up.
might need the community to keep it together. So,
Yeah.
All
it's
right.
sad to see some, start to die down like that. But
So what is has anybody explained the rationale for why it's got an expiration date on it?
The business that was in the same space
Yep.
went under, and that's what paid the bills.
I got you. Yeah.
So, yeah, the Graffiti Attic was just kind of my, I don't know, it came out of necessity for just the art community and a safe place for kids. And then the business that was up there only operated on the weekends. So kids could paint during the week, and then every First Friday we're open to the public for an art gallery. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Has anybody captured all of the art that's up there in digital images?
Well, it was constantly evolving.
Okay.
So we'd always let people come up, and we guaranteed everyone would get about 6 months for their painting to be on the wall, and then it could get painted over. It's a free wall.
Yep.
We had a room specifically. There's about 10 rooms. We had one room specifically that was just a free-for-all. Anyone could come and paint over any wall at any time or practice in that room. The rest of them, we kind of would say, okay, it's been, here's the wall. I mean, there's so many walls up there, and they're all at least 4 foot by 8 foot, if not bigger.
it might be hard to capture photos because how tight the spaces are.
Sure.
Because it
Yeah.
is sort of like a maze as well when you go up there, and they're all around.
It just
Front,
seems
left,
to
right.
me like something you'd want to capture for,
Yes.
like would make a hell of a coffee table book, if for no other reason, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But you want to capture the moment that this happened, and the experience that I think, and even doing interviews with people like you, Styles, to understand like what it meant to you, and kind of
Absolutely.
what that experience was like. It seems like somebody should do that. So this Friday,
Yeah.
so this Friday is the First Friday, so this is the last one, right?
Mhm.
All right. So we got to get the word out, especially not with the artists, but maybe with people that wanted to come up and view it as a gallery or do that kind of thing. That's it seems like there's some opportunities for that as well. So what are you doing now?
Graffiti Attic, I was painting a lot during COVID because, we weren't able to tattoo at the time. And so I started painting, and then I started painting on objects and other things like backpacks, shoes, helmets, footballs, stuff like that. And I started meeting celebrities in town such as Tech9 and other kind of C-list celebrities and stuff. And I started creating art, and I started putting it on shoes, and I started delivering shoes and jackets and stuff like that to celebrities to wear. And that's essentially what I focus on now. And I reach out to celebrities, and I kind of have a few managers that help manage me and reach out to bigger people that I'm not able to get a hold of, and they kind of just throw a pitch and just create art for them. And the goal is to get stuff on red carpet and kind of be the modern day Ed Hardy.
Is this something that was it sounds like the genesis of this, or at least a catalyst to move this forward, was what happened with Graffiti Attic. Is that accurate? I mean,
Yeah, it definitely helped out. I would say meeting somebody like Tech9, who I had some downtime in the tattoo shop one time. I started making the boots and met him to give them away, and it sparked an interest. Graffiti Attic would help because I would constantly be painting. It'd constantly be helping me perfect my craft and be a part of something that I could say, hey, I'm a featured artist at Graffiti Attic, which is, one of the world's largest graffiti artists.
yeah.
So I would like to brag about that sometimes too as well. So, but yeah, celebrity fashion designing is what I'm full force on right now.
Very cool. Very cool. Levi, what's next for you, man?
Um,
What can you talk about? I guess.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
It's
Ask
not
me
stealth
next week.
yet. All right. We have to have you back then to talk about what's next.
But I will say with Styles here, he came along really early on when I was just starting it, and he's such a humble dude, and I knew nothing about art, and he just kind of hips me up, and he's like, hey, I've never really painted a wall before. Can I just like have a dark corner that I can paint in? And so it was chaos, and I'm like, sure, man. I was like, any of these, like whatever, just pick one. And so then I don't even know if I talked to you much until you left, and then you kind of said bye and left, and I walked through like a day later, and I'm just like racing through this maze because it's a 20-minute walk, and I'm speed walking all over the place, and I see the wall. I'm like, wait a second, and it dawned on me it was him, and I'm like, that is really good. And I think some of the first piece you brought up, I bought.
Oh yeah, you did. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I had loose artwork there, which was canvases. Painting. I had miniature paintings, big paintings, jackets even, and stuff like that. But I did about 9 walls up there, and some of them were small, and some were the full length wall, and the Patrick Mahomes one is what most people like, and which was also like Graffiti Attic would bring. Not only artists, it'd bring like a lot of attention from the city, like Fox 4. That's why they came up there and wanted to interview that specific wall, and figure out what Graffiti Attic is and stuff like that.
Seems like Patrick would want you to take that piece of drywall out and maybe like take it to his house.
He's definitely seen it. I'm aware that he's seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty cool with his mother. I've done some fashion designing for her jackets, and I've done jackets and Converse custom shoes and stuff like that.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. How do we get some of that art out of there? Go cut up
Well,
some drywall.
The whole point, actually, everyone wanted me to put wood panels, and I was like, no, paint right on the sheetrock, paint right on. There's metal, corrugated metal and stuff. And I was like, paint on that because it'll be nearly impossible to remove. And that's kind of the point. I wanted it because the same space has like this hallway that has like hand carved like names and dates all the way back from like 1940s and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's kind of cool because it shows the history of the building during World War II and like stuff like that. And I mean, that's what was up there. And then I'm like, we're only painting on what we added, but it just adds to the story of Union Station, Kansas City's history and art scene, COVID. I mean, never are you going to see, and I thought it was going to be graffiti, but it turned out about half the people were just people coming up and using brushes and stuff like that. And so then you get these like classical brushwork painters painting next to kids and professional graffiti artists that are all kind of Kansas City locals. And then they collaborated and started different art scenes and pop-ups around Kansas City that you never would have seen those styles come together. Or styles and the other styles. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it was really cool, and it was an honor to be involved in that.
Yeah. So what do you has this, or do you think this will have an influence on things you do in the future? Like, has this changed? You say you didn't know anything about art, but now as a serial entrepreneur, has this maybe opened your mind or your eyes to different opportunities that you might not have otherwise thought about before you did this?
Yeah, one of my first companies was very profitable, but I was working and catering kind of to the rich, and it was great, but it just was kind of emotionally just draining. And it was fun to be able to do something that I could then mentor the business and bidding side to kids and to just really talented people that have way more talent than me. And so, and I just loved every minute of it. I didn't care if it was 12-hour days, 7 days a week.
Right.
It was fun. And I was constantly just watching all these guys paint and just like, what is that? Like, oh, this is called like a drip marker or something, stuff like that. And I'm like, how, why, but yeah, I'm definitely focusing more on stuff like that. And Ben and I's new venture is focused on off-grid solutions and education, and working with UMKC and stuff like that. Stuff that's going to make an impact in the world.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's a great story. I'm kind of sad to hear about it right before it ends, right? Instead of hearing about it early on. I guess it's a miss on my part, but congratulations on, it sounds like creating something really special for a lot of people that really probably needed it at the time, but also, for the city and kind of a landmark opportunity like that. And I think it's a shame that it gets shut down, and see what we can do about that in the next few days, right? We'll start a mass viral campaign to get Graffiti Attic, keep Graffiti Attic open, keep Graffiti Attic accessible. Whatever tagline we want to create, we should do it.
Well, the artists live on, and shameless plug. What's your Instagram?
Yeah. Where can we find your stuff?
Cartel Styles at Cartel Styles with a K, KartelStylez.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, check out your stuff, and good luck in your new business or in the
Absolutely.
continuation of your celebrity fashion business.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank
to
you
you.
for
And
having me here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I know you actually got to run as part of that business now.
I do. I got a delivery as we speak.
You got a delivery tonight, so I appreciate you carving out some time and coming and talking about your experience there. Definitely appreciate it. It was nice to get to know you and hear the story. And Levi, thanks a lot for what you did and continue to do. And I know we'll have you back at some point in time to talk about something else you're doing. So I kind of count on that. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.